YouTube, it's Andrea here and I'm today going to do my mid-month wrap-up. We're halfway through March and I've already read 13 books. I know. I don't know what's happening this month, I've just been reading maniacally. Ha 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 ha. So we'll start on it. So the first book I read was a book I've been reading for a long time. I finished it finally. And that's Mrs. Simpson by Charles Hyam, which is the story of Wallis Simpson and her marriage to the Duke of Windsor, who was previously the King of England, would have been, but he abdicated because he wanted to marry Mrs. Simpson, and all I can say is bloody hell, she was a right goer, wasn't she? Whew. So yeah, it took me a while, but I got there in the end. Most of it takes place during the war years, and the early part of the 20th century, but it was really fascinating stuff. I gave it 3 out of 5 because it took me a long time to get through it. Biographies normally don't, but I would recommend picking it up if you are actually interested in Mrs. Simpson and Edward and, you know, all that scandal and stuff that went around them. Yeah, it's very nice. The second book I read, I bought because I had been invited by Hedda Zeus to be a part of a blog tour for the second part in the trilogy. And the trilogy is called the Raven Master Trilogy. It's written by John Owen Theobald. I keep mixing his names up. And book 1 is called These Dark Wings. And it has the tagline, if the ravens leave the tower, Britain will fall. And this follows 13-year-old Anna Cooper. She was told her father had died in a sailing accident when she was 5, and her mother allegedly was killed in the Blitz on a bus. So, orphaned, she goes to live with her Uncle Henry, who she's never met, and he lives in the Tower of London. He's one of the people that live and work there, and he looks after the ravens. So he's getting old, so she's helping him, and she takes over looking after the ravens. And then obviously the Blitz is going on, so there's air raids and there's looting, and she meets a boy named Timothy Sharp because they go to school together in the tower. And it's all about the different things that Anna gets involved in. It doesn't seem like much happens in this first book, but it does. It's such a beautifully written story, and Anna is such a lovely, lovely character. The ravens at the tower all have names, and to this day they all still have names. And the legend is that there must be 6 at any one time. They usually have a spare. And she wants to get away, basically. She wants to get away from the Blitz, and who can blame her? And her best friend's moved to Canada, and she wants to go to Canada and meet up with her friend and live over there. So I really, really enjoyed this book, and I went straight from this one to the second book in the series, which is What the Raven Brings. This takes place a little bit later. The Blitz has finished, the war's still ongoing, but the Blitz is over for now. And Anna is like 15 now, and her uncle's died, leaving her in the care of Yeoman Oakes. He's her guardian, but her uncle wanted her to become Raven Master at the Tower of London because she's been looking after them for so long, but because she's not been in the military, she's not a man, they won't let her. So she originally joins the Navy, which is like a canteen serving the soldiers, and she doesn't like it, so she runs away. She gets her uncle to, well, the Yeoman Oakes Guardian, to sign the form to say she can join the WAF, which is the Women's Auxiliary Air Force. However, she doesn't really get on in the WAF, so they transfer her to a civilian post in the ATA. The ATA is the Air Transport Auxiliary. I believe that's what it stands for. And these were a group of women who used to fly planes from one location to another location within the United Kingdom so that they were where the pilots needed them to be. So they might fly from Scotland to Biggin Hill, or from Dorset to Norfolk. But the difference with these women is when they flew without radios in case the Nazis were listening in, and they flew without navigation instruments. It was a very, very dangerous job. And in fact, Amy Johnson was one of these pilots, and she actually died she crashed her plane into the Thames. She was doing this job because they would have to fly using landmarks, so steeples and rivers, and that's how they would get to their locations. And so she becomes one of these amazing flyers. It was a lovely book. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 just because of the way he described things like her first flight, the first time she took controls of the plane. absolutely fantastic book. I can't recommend this enough. This is going to be a great trilogy. I can't wait now for part 3, which I will be picking up as soon as it comes out, definitely. Another book I was sent by Head of Seuss Publishing, I think they like me over there, for review and to take part in the blog tour, was The Whitehaired by Michael Fishwick. Now, this is the first book in their Zephyr imprint, which is going to be their children's range. And this is the story of a boy named Robbie. His mother dies of cancer and he goes off the rails while she's dying and sets fire to something, and he's in trouble. His mother dies and his dad quickly remarries another woman who he doesn't get particularly on with because, you know, it's his dad, why has he done this? It's betrayal. And they move back to his dad's hometown where he meets a girl named Mags. Mags is this mysterious character who keeps telling about the legend of the white hair, and how the white hair comes when there's been a tragic death, and the person who died comes back as the hair because they're going to get revenge on the person that caused them to die. And it turns out that Mag's friend Fran had committed suicide over a failed relationship, and it's a question of whether or not it's Fran come back as the white hair or Robbie's mother coming back to avenge what Robbie's dad did by getting married so quickly. Took a while to get going, but it's beautifully written. It's a modern fairy tale. It really is. It's a modern day fairy tale, and for anybody who says it's too grim and too dark to be a fairy tale, they've never read original fairy tales, because they are grim and gory and fantastic. So this to me is a modern day fairy tale, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, I gave this one 4. The next book I was sent by, that I read, yes, it was the next one I read, because I've read some ebooks today and I don't know where they are on the list, was sent to me by Matador Books, and it's called The Colour of Red by Nima Lee. This takes place during the great proletarian cultural revolution of China, which started in 1966, when Mao Zedong was in charge, and basically everybody went mad. And so there's little stories, some of them are longer than others, and they take bits of events and tell you about them. So there's an event where somebody sends Mao mangoes. He doesn't like mangoes, but they give them out, and people they say you shouldn't eat them because Mao gave them to you. You should cherish them and worship them. Now, I gotta be honest, I don't know a lot about Chinese history. The last time I read anything to do with China was back in school when we studied communism in China. But this was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was that beautifully written. The writing style is absolutely lovely, and it has made me want to learn a bit more about China's history. Because in this, the adults were the bad guys and the kids were the good guys, and the children and the young adults took over the country, basically. You couldn't read anything other than what Mao said. You couldn't write anything unless it was in support of Mao. You could just, you know, teachers were literally brutally tortured and killed simply because they were teachers. And it's absolutely fascinating. I really enjoyed this collection of stories, and I think Nima Lee is definitely somebody to keep an eye out for. So I recommend that one. The next one was an ebook. I saw it advertised on Facebook. It only cost me 99p, and it's called Where the Dead Walk, and it's by John Bowen. This one tells the story of a production crew of a TV show called Where the Dead Walk. So much like Most Haunted or Ghost Venturers and so on, Ghost Hunters, they go around houses in the UK filming them, or locations, to see if they can pick up any spiritual activity. Kate and the production company are contacted by a man named Sebastian Dahl, who has a house he wants them to investigate. He says, although it's a new house, it's definitely haunted. It's built in the old Victorian style. So they go, and not a lot happens except for to Kate, who has a very strange experience there. Now, it turns out that in her past, Kate was in a fire, and she has a scar up here. And her mother died in that fire, but Sebastian was also in that fire, and he changed his name. His name before was Timothy. And he and Kate and another person, Lawrence, were the only people to survive the fire. So, and what's happened is, and I'm not going to tell you because that would spoil it, but it's a really good book and you should read it, because I got to 75% through the book and I was thinking, oh God, I know where this is going. I know I've seen 2 things that have used this exact plot device, and I didn't like the endings. And I'm not going to tell you what they are because I don't want to spoil it for you, because he didn't go the same way with the plot device that they did, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Thank you, John Bowen. It was a brilliant book. Thank you for letting us have it for 99 pence. I did love it, and there will be a review on my blog of most of these books at some point. So yes, that's one to definitely pick up. Go and get that. So that's Where the Dead Walk by John Bowen. Very good. Another one I've got I can't talk too much about at the moment, and that was A Grave Calling by Wendy Roberts. This book doesn't come out till July. I got this from NetGalley in exchange for a fair and honest review. So I will be doing a review of that on my blog closer to July. What I will say about it was it's about a girl, a young woman named Julie, who can douse with dowsing rods, but she doesn't douse for water, she douses for dead bodies, and she's contacted by the FBI, who are searching for these missing girls, and they've been going missing quite a lot. You know, there's been 3 in the last few months, and this FBI agent's heard of her, and he wants her to help find these dead girls because they're pretty sure they're dead. So that one that one was fantastic, and I can actually say that I did give it 5 out of 5 stars. I've put that's as much as I've said to anybody at the moment. Oh my god. And I do believe there's going to be another one, because at the back of the Kindle edition, the NetGalley Kindle edition, there was coming soon, and it was a grave something else, so I'm pretty sure there's going to be a sequel. So oh yes, please. And then another one I got from NetGalley, which again isn't out yet, is Fire Damage by Katie Medina. It's been reviewed. Nobody's reviewed A Grave Calling yet, because they don't want it going up until about 3 weeks before the publishing date. So although I've written my review, it's in a top secret folder. So Fire Damage follows a girl named Jessie, who is a psychologist working with the armed forces in the UK. She's been out to Afghanistan, and she's been asked to help this child because this young boy is disturbed. His father was seriously injured during the Afghanistan war. In fact, he was blown up, and one side of his face is burnt out, and he's missing an eye. And she uncovers, along with a military policeman named Ben Callan, this whole plot surrounding his family. And I won't go into it anymore because I can't think of any way of expressing what the story's about without actually spoiling it. But it was really good. It started off quite slowly, and I thought, oh my god, how am I going to get through this? But once I got into the story, it was absolutely fantastic. So do bear with it if you do read it, because it was really, really good. On to the next. This is book number 9. I know, and we're nearly there. And that was Gerald's Game by Stephen King, which of course is part of Binge Readers Stephen King-a-thon. She's listened to them, I'm reading them. Again, this was the other book which has a character named Jessie. So Jessie has accidentally killed her husband, and she's handcuffed to the bed, and she can't get out. So what does she do? Basically, that's the plot. There's a lot going on in Jessie's past, and she has to confront it. And she also has to confront physical pain so she can escape from the handcuffs. Stephen King. I did enjoy this. I only gave it 3. It's not my favourite King book, but I did enjoy it. It was just very odd. Never ever let anybody chain you to a bed. I'm certainly never going to let anybody handcuff me to a bed. Well, not anymore anyway. I didn't say that. So yeah. So that's Gerald's Game. So that was fun. That was a good book. I finally finished listening to Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I loved it. I think I gave it 4. Did I give it 4? 4. And yeah, I loved it. At the end, though, when there were like hundreds of Jason Dessons running around all trying to kill each other, I was like, oh my god, this is bizarre. But the way that the Jason we started with got out of that situation, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. So it did take me a while to get through it, but I'm glad glad I listened to it. I loved it. It's a really, really good story. So I would advise anybody who's into that sort of multiverse, jumping, psychological, thrillery romance thing. It's got all that going on, to pick it up. It was actually a very, very good book. I did enjoy that. I also finally finished it because note that some of these have been around for a while. The Holocaust by Lawrence Rees, which I picked up on my way to Tenerife in February and read most of it while I was over there. I finally finished that one. heartbreaking, obviously, because of the subject matter. I did enjoy it. I gave it a 4. There wasn't actually much, I mean, there was a lot about the war and a lot about how the Jews were killed in other ways rather than the extermination camps, and that it wasn't just the Jews they killed, it was also the disabled, the sick, and so on. But it's heartbreaking regardless of, you know, the subject matter. It's horrendous. But I have been wanting to learn more about World War II and the Holocaust as well, so I'm glad I picked this up, and I will be looking for, I think there are some books that are told actually by the survivors of these camps that I would like to read. Obviously I've read the Diary of Anne Frank and the Anne Frank biography. She sadly didn't survive, but yeah. So yeah, it was hard to read because it's a heartbreaking subject. 2 to go. 2 to go. We're still going, so it's 16 minutes at the moment. My first reread on BookTube is my Terry Pratchett's The Colour of Magic, the first of the Discworld series. Obviously, I don't know if you watch this channel quite regularly, you know that I am taking part in the We Ain't Dead Terry Pratchett reread-a-thon, which is in honour of his passing. It's a year-long readathon, and the challenge is to read every single Discworld in a year. I think that averages out as, it's just over 1 a month, because there are 42 books. If you're going to read all the extra books, then yes, it'll be more than 2 a month. If you're going to read things like Nanny Ogg's Cookbook and the Science of the Discworld and the Folklore of the Discworld, then yes, it's going to take long, but I'm just reading the main canon, and that includes Eric and The Last Hero, which are graphic novels. So the final book, which I finished this month, is a non-fiction book. Another one, yeah, I do love my non-fiction, as you know, and that is The Little Book of Chanel, which is by Emma Baxter Wright. This was sent to me by Carlton Publishing, so thank you, Carlton, and it's a potted history of the Chanel fashion house and all about Gabrielle Coco Chanel and her designs, and I really did like this book. There are some lovely, lovely outfits in here. I wish I could wear, even if I was, you know, even if I could afford it. I'm not thin enough. There's one I really, really like, and I'm going to try and show it to you. If I can find it. I probably won't find it. I don't think it's that far, actually. It was a red dress. I like red. Oh, look at this one. This one's gorgeous. Look at that. Look at that. Isn't that stunning? I mean, come on. Who wouldn't want to be able to wear something that gorgeous? Oh, this one here. Look at this red one here. On the end. Beautiful. So yes, this was a very, very interesting story of Chanel. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I would love to read a full biography on Coco Chanel. She sounds so very, very fascinating, very interesting. And Chanel's always been one of those shops I've loved looking in the window of when I've been on Bond Street. And of course, I do use Chanel No. 5 perfume and soap when I can afford it. So far, that was 13 books. That is what I've read so far this month. I know. I'm mad. I must find something else to do. Stay tuned, BookTube. I'll be back soon, obviously with the second part of my wrap up at the end of the month. There'll be a small book haul. I've actually only managed to buy, I've actually got 9 books this month so far, and some of those were subscription boxes and some were really cheap. Yeah. Actually it's 10 because the Whitehaired came this month, but that was free. So I'm actually doing well. I've actually read more than I've accumulated so far, so I'm hoping to keep that up. If you like this, don't forget to give me the thumbs up. If you've read any of the books I've mentioned today or want to, leave me a comment and we can have a chat about them. And don't forget to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. I'll see you soon, BookTube. Bye!